What's up, guys? Sorry I haven't been posting on time a lot lately. I've just been sort of real busy with work, so been pretty busy, not having enough time. Also, my internet situation at home, often I don't really have enough internet to upload videos, so it's sort of whenever I go somewhere where I can, so sorry for that. But out here at the workshop today, I've got a new T3 gasket for the Skyline from that one I blew out at Matsuri, so I'm going to replace that. Decided to go with a single layer steel one this time. I have been avoiding it because I was worried about my manifold flange not being flat because it's been welded up before. I'm pretty sure it's been warped, so just going to try it and see how it goes because I keep blowing out the perforated ones, so there's no point in keeping running them, so I'll chuck it on and see. Also bought a new set of wheels for the 31. Got a nice set of Rotor RXBs with a bit more aggressive offset, so I can sort of focus on getting a bit more steering angle. The Torque 2s I was running, the offset and the width, they were sort of getting pretty close to the chassis rail, so I was limited to how much lock I could get. So with these new offset wheels, I should be able to get a bit more lock, and they look really cool, so I'm pretty excited to test fit them and get it on there. So yeah, we'll get going on that. I also want to have a look at the Gemini, have a bit of a sneak peek at the next thing that's going to be coming up for OnSong, and just see what we're up against there with as far as our build and what we want to do with it. So that's what we're doing today. We'll get into it and have a look. So the idea with the Gemini, a little bit of backstory. Gemini popped up down the road for sale on Facebook a little while ago for 200 bucks, so I snapped it up. And also, when one of the first gearboxes I blew up in the Skyline, when I went to buy a new one from a bloke that was having a workshop sale, he had a L67 and a 4L60 sitting there as well when I bought my gearbox, and he only wanted 300 bucks for it, so I grabbed that off him as well. And between the two of them, we're going to sort of make a compound turbo supercharged setup out of the L67 and the KKR 660 that came off my Skyline when I changed the setup, and we reckon we can pretty much build a 10-second car for less than 6k out of it all. But before we get started, I just need to get it up, and there's a bit of rust in the body, so I need to have a look at the rest of underneath it and just see what we're up against as far as if we want to do it or not, because it could be a bit of a write-off. So that's sort of going to be the next thing coming up on OnSong after the cruise is finished. Is going to be the 10-second for 6 grand Gemini, compound boosted L67, 4L60E, and stripped and would weigh pretty much nothing. So see how that goes. This poor thing still sitting out here. Need a bigger shed. My demeritless tape still going strong, thanks to Demeritless. Replace that broken fucking thing. And keep drifting. I really do like these wheels that are on it, but still use them for skidders, still look good. Need something a bit more aggressive so I can get a bit more lock. Good old RB30, she's fucking bulletproof. She starts every time. This one here is its brother. It's essentially pretty much the exact same car, nearly exactly the same setup. This one's sort of halfway through being rebuilt. Last Matsuri, it developed a bit of a knock, so it's in the middle of being rebuilt. Both of them have got them dumb drag wings. We think they're cool. But yeah, both very cheap, very reliable setups. Can't really go wrong with the dirty 31. Although they are starting to increase in value, they're harder to get cheap now, but both of these setups are very, very cheap, and we have a lot of fun. I've pretty much got like half of my life stored in this car because at the moment I haven't got a shed at home. So the Skyline doesn't normally live out here. It normally lives at home, so I can obviously do a lot more drifting. But unfortunately at the moment my living arrangements are not great, so it has to stay out here outside in the paddock, which is really annoying. But hopefully soon enough I'll have somewhere I can keep it at home, a nice little shed, and can hopefully do a lot more driving. So after Matsuri and a few other videos, I've actually had a fair bit of interest in my setup and what it actually is. So one of these days, probably when the other one's going as well, I probably will do a full video explaining our setups, start to finish, and what they owe us. You really don't have to spend a lot of money to go have some fun drifting. These are both very, I suppose, pretty high output for what they are, and they both owe us not much money. So this one makes 320 wheel horsepower. At the moment that's limited by the ignition. It's blowing out spark, so with a better coil or an upgraded ignition it could potentially do a lot more. Rex, when he is finished he's actually going to a better coil, and he's thinking about going E85, so he's probably looking at maybe around closer to 400 wheel with essentially the same turbo and ECU, but just more boosts, better fuel and better ignition. So not hard to build these into a very, very cheap, very fun drift car, which obviously you've seen us doing with Liam's, and you'll be tracking the progress of that. But yeah, these are sort of just the next level, and still not very much money at all. So these are my Rotor Torque 2s. They're 17 by 8.5, and they are a positive 17, I believe. So quite a nice wheel. I really like the look of them, but unfortunately I'll jack it up in a minute and give you a look at how close they are to my chassis rail. The RXBs that I've bought are a 17 by 8, so they're an inch narrower, and they are a negative 12 or 14, I think. So they're about an extra 25 negative offset. Also they're an inch narrower, which means it should give me about 12.7 mil more poke, which means I may have to get the hammer out and the heat gun and do some attitude adjustment on these guards. But being that inch narrower and that extra 25 mil offset, it should give me about 30 mil more clearance on the inside from steering components and from the chassis rail. So hopefully that means I can maybe get some modified knuckles. I don't really want to go extending my LCAs anymore because I don't really want to widen the track width of the front too much more. I would rather leave the track width because this thing's still very close to being streetable. It's not far from it. So I don't want to go doing too much to it, because if I ever want to sell it, it is still potentially a very nice street car. It's a very straight example of a 31 as well, so I don't really want to go hacking at it. So I want to keep the track width the same, so I'm thinking probably just some modified knuckles, and hopefully that'll give a bit extra lock. It's already got a fair bit of lock, but I am finding that I'm starting to run out, and so that's full lock. And under here you can see there's not really much more room to go any more, really. To my knowledge, this setup is just full S13 bottom, sort of front end, just the LCA and knuckle, and that's all S13 gear. That's all I really know about it, so I'm thinking if just modify the knuckles and just get that little bit extra with a bit more room. So As you can see, there is a fair bit of lock. Fair bit of lock, but obviously a bit more is not going to hurt. It's going to be nice. As you can see, she's filthy. She gets a bit neglected out here. Hopefully that'll change pretty soon. So I've got them on, but they don't clear me calipers, so unfortunately I can't run them. I'm just going to have to build a Sylvia. Good looking wheel butt. So as you can see, they do give me a lot more room, but unfortunately they don't clear the caliper, so no good. Only thing I could do is try a 5mm spacer, but that's gonna offset them probably a bit too far for me to really run them without doing too much modification to the guards. So it's pretty disappointing, but you get that. So well, guess I'll just have to buy and build a Sylvia. Alrighty, so this is what's left of the gasket that came out of it. Pretty much the same thing that happened to the last one. So I think half the issue was that the nuts, when I took off the turbo, the studs were not tight. They keep coming loose. I think the other half of the issue is because it blows out spark. Because of the ignition, it's actually burning the inside of these perforated gaskets and blowing them out. So that's pretty much the two issues I think why this keeps happening. So got the new gaskets a single layer steel. So I'm going to put that in, and previously I was using this copper gasket sealer, which is good for head gaskets and manifold gaskets supposedly, but it doesn't really, it's not really designed to withstand the heat of these super high heat, high pressure exhaust turbo manifolds. So what I'm going to try this time is actually some of this heat proof paint. Now we all know paint's sticky as fuck, so it's heat proof. I don't know how it goes with pressure, but hopefully with the single layer steel gasket that'll be enough for our pressure, and hopefully this will be enough to stick it all together. So I'm just going to spray on this paint, put it all together wet, tighten it down, and see how it goes. Alright, she's in, she's going. Can't feel any leaks around the gasket, which is good. So hopefully she fucking... It's a bit cold, Hopefully she works out pretty well. Alright, you got the big bad Gemini out and up on the hoist. Have a look underneath it and see if it's worth touching. Big bad 1.6 litre Isuzu. It actually doesn't look too bad under here. Not as bad as I expected. Needs some rubbers and such, as you'd expect. Bit of a hole, that's the driver's side, obviously. Need to plate that up. And the boot's sort of the same, but that doesn't matter because we'll plate that up. The cell will go in there anyway, so probably worth doing. Minimal work by the looks, so looks good. This lovely exhaust modification here. Beautiful. So we do have a bent control arm here. She's a bit obviously had a hit to the front, but should be able to either press it out or pick up one from a wrecker. Apart from that, it all looks pretty good. Just need to pull everything out, clean it up in the cabinet, give it a paint and put new bushes under it, and she should be pretty good. Some new shockies, rebuild the brakes, and that should just about be the car set.